I'm going to explain an action-adventure movie called Uncharted, aka Spider-Man's Screwed Indiana Jones. The film opens as a full-time professional thief and part-time bartender. Nathan Drake precariously hangs thousands of feet above the sea. He is currently tangled up in a trail of cargo that is itself hanging from the back of a plane. Nate uses his incredible athleticism to pull himself back to safety, but as he takes a sigh of relief, a vintage car that is rolling down the exit ramp hits him. The young man is going to fall to his death when suddenly a hand reaches out to grab him. The scene abruptly shifts to a flashback. 15 years earlier in Boston, a teenage Nate is hanging from the balcony of a museum. He would have fallen to his death had it not been for his elder brother Sam. We get to know that the two are breaking into the Boston National Museum to steal the original map of Ferdinand Magellan's expedition. According to some tales from that period, Magellan's voyage around the globe was to find a hidden golden treasure. He never made it back home, which means that the treasure is still somewhere out there. It is obvious that Sam plans to use the map to locate the huge gold stash. He then jams his knife into the keyhole and tries to open the shelf holding the artifacts. Suddenly, the alarms start ringing and the two brothers are caught red-handed. They are quickly taken back to the orphanage where they live. It is then revealed that this is the third time Sam has been caught stealing. The head nun who runs the orphanage thus decides to kick Sam out and force him to stay away from his brother. "But I like stealing too," says Nate. Shortly afterwards, Nate goes to their dormitory, only to see Sam sneaking out of the orphanage. He promises his little brother that he will return one day, and the two embrace. We then shift to the present day, where a grown-up Nate works as a bartender in New York. He is a charming man who is extremely adept at stealing people's belongings without raising suspicion. Nate gives us a good example of his talent when he's serving a rich girl. He first distracts her by offering a lighter, then swipes a diamond bracelet clean off her wrist. And he's not even just doing it for TikTok or some shit. He's a real criminal. Nearby, a seasoned fortune hunter named Victor Sully Sullivan is keenly watching the whole thing. He's not rocking the mustache, and he's definitely not going to try to do the accent. He's just Mark. He approaches Nate shortly afterwards and offers him a chance to join an upcoming expedition. "You want to come with me to look for some gold? I'll take you with me to look for some gold." The latter declines the offer and politely asks Sully to leave the bar. However, Nate soon finds that the stranger has swiped the bracelet from his back pocket and left a business card instead. "I guess you shit too. Steal your dick right out he pays." After his shift at the bar is over, Nate goes to the address mentioned in the card, which happens to be Sully's apartment. As the two converse, Sully reveals that he had been expecting the young man and discloses where he has kept the bracelet. Nate grabs it right away and is about to leave when suddenly his eyes fall on something. To his utter surprise, there is the original copy of Magellan's map placed in one corner of the room. Following this, Sully reveals that he used to work with Sam and knows that Nate is his brother. This prompts a discussion about Magellan's voyage and how it was bankrolled by the Moncadas. It turns out this aristocratic family has been a key player in several atrocities throughout history. Sully adds that Sam had helped him steal the diary of Eduardo Elcano, the captain of Magellan's ship. It contains accounts of the ship's travel and lots of clues that can lead them to the hidden gold pile. Eventually, Sully says that he wants the young man to join him in searching for this treasure. Nate cannot refuse such a big opportunity, so he immediately accepts the offer. The following day, Sully reveals his first step of his plan, acquiring an ancient golden cross that is one of two keys needed to find the treasure. "How do you know all this?" "It came in the McDonald's Happy Meal I got the other day." He has the first one, and the second one is being held for auction at a New York museum. Sully knows that Santiago Moncada, the eldest son of the Moncada family, will try to buy the cross since it was once his family's heirloom. Nate is then tasked to take out the electrical grid in the museum, while Sully takes the responsibility of stealing the cross. A few days later, the two go to the auction, and everything seems to be under control for a while. Both the men know their responsibilities and are motivated to steal the golden cross, but things begin to go wrong when Sully sees a woman named Jo Braddock in the auction. She's a ruthless mercenary and is now working for Santiago Moncada. She soon approaches Sully, indicating she knows what he's here for. Nonetheless, our heroes go ahead with their plan, and Nate sneaks to the control room of the museum. He's about to kill the power, but is caught by Moncada's big, burly Scottish henchman, or whatever. Back in the main hall, Sully has to buy time by attempting to outbid Moncada in the auction. He is fully aware that he doesn't have the money to go toe-to-toe with the wealthy aristocrat. Fortunately for him, Nate manages to evade the Scotsman and comes up with another way to cause a diversion. He dangles from a nearby chandelier, creating a commotion. Sully uses this opportunity to quickly change into the uniform of the museum's security team. He then grabs the suitcase containing the cross and pretends to take it to the safety locker. However, he heads outside to the parking lot, where Nate is waiting for him in his car. Now comes the second stage of the plan as the duo takes the artifact and travels to Barcelona. There, they meet with Sully's associate, Chloe Fraser, who has the second cross. She doesn't take much time to make it clear that she doesn't trust the two men. In fact, she openly says that she doesn't want to work with them and walks away. Sully, who is skeptical about her intentions, tells his partner to check the backpack for the cross. To their utter horror, they realize that Chloe has stolen the artifact. We are a really good thief. He can just be invisible and phase through matter, and is now bolting away towards the parking lot. The men chase after her from different directions, but she proves to be too elusive. Chloe gets into her car and is about to leave when Nate lunges in front of the vehicle. He then reminds her that she doesn't actually know where to find the treasure without their help, with no other option, because I guess she somehow did not think about that. Chloe is forced to work together with the two men as they have the diary of Eduardo Alcano. Nate, who is adept at deciphering riddles, has studied the journal several times. It contains a drawing of the tree, and he concludes that it is a religious symbol. Sometime later, the three are standing in front of the St. Mary of the Pine Church, whose emblem matches the tree in the diary. It is then decided that they will check the entire place for further clues that very night. Elsewhere, at the Moncada Foundation headquarters, Santiago is upset at his father Armando. This is because Dad plans to donate the entire family fortune to charity. Later that day, Santiago meets with his father in a public park and has one last chat about the matter. The old man stands firm in his decision and heads back into his car, but this turns out to be a grave mistake as Santiago orders his henchmen to kill Armando for good. That night, Nate, Sully, and Chloe go to the Church of Pine and try to find any clues regarding the hidden treasure. It doesn't take them long to come across a symbol on the floor, which indicates that there is a secret crypt behind the altar, and no one has ever noticed it before. Nate soon manages to locate a button that unveils two keyholes on the bottom of the statue of Mary. They then use the two golden crosses, and finally, the altar rotates to reveal a passageway. However, Alcana's diary talks about two paths, one going to heaven and one going to a Papa John's right now. This means the team needs to find a tunnel that can be opened from underground as well as from above the garage at the same time. Thus, Nate and Chloe head into the passageway, while Sully goes out to the street to find the other opening. They decide to use a geolocation map to track each other's positions at all times. After a bit of exploring, Chloe and Nate come across a crypt that ends in a trapdoor. They use their golden cross to turn the keyhole on the trapdoor, but things begin to get real scary. The entire space starts to fill with water from the fountain that is right above the crypt. For them to get free, Sully needs to find another opening on the ground level. Thankfully, he soon notices a keyhole on the wall of the nearby restaurant. Papa John's, I told you. The only problem is, Braddock is standing right on his path, fully intent on stealing the golden cross. The two engage in a ferocious fight, and Sully eventually manages to knock her down. He then hastily opened the keyhole just in the nick of time. A few meters below in the underground crypt's water begins to drain out, and his two colleagues are saved. Following this, Sully finds a symbol near the water fountain that looks like a ladder. He deduces that the symbol depicts both the golden crosses placed together, which must make one singular key. So, he drops his cross down through the drainage grill below towards the crypt. Nate then puts the two artifacts together and manages to form a singular key that does look for the ladder. Using it, he and Chloe enter a Roman antechamber with giant urns in the center. The duo rejoice, thinking they have finally found Magellan's gold, and rush to check the urns, but their happiness quickly turns into disappointment as these vessels are filled with salt. However, Nate finds a map hidden among the large heaps of salt, which indicates that the treasure is in the Philippines. Unfortunately, Chloe takes this opportunity to deceive Nate and take a map for herself. She also reveals that Sully is keeping the truth about Sam from him before knocking out the young man with her pistol. A few moments later, Sully finds Nate lying unconscious in the underground crypt. He wakes him up, but Nate immediately asks what happens to his brother. Left with no option. Sully finally reveals the truth about what had happened a year ago in a place called San Sebastian. He and Sam were ambushed by Braddock, who shot at them. Sully had no choice but to run and leave his friend behind, leading him to believe that Sam is not dead. Nate is devastated by this revelation and starts questioning the whole point of his existence. However, he refuses to give up on the quest and decides to stick with Sully for the time being. Elsewhere, in a shocking twist of events, Santiago reveals that he had hired Chloe as part of his team. This becomes evidence as she soon brings the map to the Moncada Foundation headquarters. Santiago then makes preparations to head to the Philippines with his crew, which includes both Braddock and Sully. Next day, Nate and Sully track down Santiago's crew to an airport. The aristocrat is transporting large amounts of equipment, people, and even his favorite red Mercedes to the Philippines. The duo sees an opportunity and they sneak into the car's trunk. It's so small you fit right in there. Makes room. Shortly afterwards, the plane takes off from Barcelona and Moncada gathers his crew for his speech. He talks about how he feels that Magellan's crew betrayed his family. He is busy blowing his own trumpet when Braddock fatally slits his throat all of a sudden. It is then revealed that she and all the other goons had planned this betrayal for months. They want to find the treasure using Santiago's resources and keep all the money for themselves. However, she doesn't notice two important things happening right under her nose. First, Chloe slips away quietly and hides inside Santiago's favorite Mercedes. Second, Sully and Nate sneak out of the car's trunk to foil the entire plan. The men eventually get their hands on the map, while Braddock's men are busy looking for Chloe. Nate then opens the cargo chutes, causing the huge equipment boxes to fly out of the plane. After successfully foiling Braddock's plan, Sully manages to jump safely out with a parachute. Nate, on the other hand, is caught in cargo, trailing behind the plane. This is when the movie circles back to the first scene, as Nate barely makes his way to safety. He takes a sigh of relief, only for the red Mercedes to roll right into him. The car, Nate, and Chloe are now falling down towards the sea at frightening speed. Fortunately, Nate and Chloe manage to put their differences aside and work together for the time being. They lash onto a cargo box and pull the chute, slowing down their descent. They then land on the sea shortly afterwards and eventually swim to a nearby Filipino island. That night, the duo books a room in a resort and tries to look over the map. They try for several hours, but cannot decipher the exact location of the treasure. An exhausted Chloe then retires for the night and heads to bed. Now all on his own, Nate comes up with a new strategy. He grabs one of Sam's postcards and lights a flame under it. To his surprise, a hidden message appears on it. It says the keys are to be used as compasses. Nate then uses the two golden crosses and finds that their north tip points to the exact spot where the treasure is hidden. It'd be nice if he tried something that didn't work, even just once. To dissuade anyone from following him, he writes down the fake coordinates on a paper and puts it on the desk. The next morning, Chloe sees the note and runs away on her own. Nate wakes up after a while, fully satisfied that his plan has worked perfectly. He then uses a speedboat to head to the location, but Braddock, who is at a nearby island, also notices him. Sometime later, Nate reaches a cavern underneath a huge cliff where two ancient Spanish ships are lodged. The young man is basking in the glory of his findings when suddenly Sully also arrives on the spot. I see you found it too. Turns out he managed to locate Nate through the geolocation tracker that they had opened a few days earlier. The two of them then head inside the ship and find tons of gold stored in wooden boxes. Unfortunately, their happiness doesn't last long, as Braddock and their goons arrive as well. Nate and Sully get busy helping themselves to the treasure when suddenly Braddock decides to take drastic measures. She gets two helicopters to airlift both the ships out of the cavern, since the ships themselves are valued in the billions. With no other option left, Sully climbs up to one of the choppers and knocks out Braddock's goons. This you, bitch. Okay, yeah, one for you too. The ruthless villain notices him and orders her men to attack. This forces Nate to fight on the ship while Sully tries to steer the vessel away from large cliffs. The duo is now fighting a losing battle as Braddock's men have overwhelming numerical superiority. It's one way to put that. Fortunately, Sully manages to lure the enemy helicopter right onto a cliff, which shatters the second ship into pieces. Having lost half the gold in this unfortunate event, Braddock attempts to go after Nate and kill him with her own hands. The youngster recognizes the incoming danger, because he's you know why, and tries to climb from the ship to the chopper. Unfortunately, Braddock grabs his legs right before Nate can get to the helicopter's cabin. Sully, who is watching all this, is now left with a choice. save Nate or flee with the bag of gold that he had earlier sneaked out. Eventually, he throws the bag of gold at Braddock, sending her falling into the ocean. He then pulls Nate up, and the second ship drops right on top of Braddock, crushing her. With the Filipino Coast Guard approaching the wreckage, Nate and Sully start flying away. The young man then reveals that he has managed to save some bars of gold and jewelry in his pockets. Nice! By the way, say hello to your Aunt May for me. Just as they are celebrating their victory, they notice Chloe on a speedboat heading towards the wrong coordinates. Didn't by Nate. As the movie comes to an end, the scene cuts to a prison where we see that Sam is still alive and is writing another postcard to Nate.